Greetings, beautiful souls, beautiful people. I am back for day 6. And I was going to go live earlier, but I was like, what am I going to talk about? What should I talk about? And I delayed for quite some time because that's what resistance does, right? Resistance sort of, keeps us avoiding things for quite some time. And so, but today I wanted to talk about this question that I got not too long ago by somebody who asked, am I being cursed? Well, no, am I cursed? And I thought, wow, that's heavy, right? That's real heavy to believe that life is so incredibly terrible and hard that you believe that you were put on this earth to suffer. And I felt that for that person really deeply. And it's sort of a terrible belief to hold on to, not in a judgmental kind of way, but in a way that like, that is how you see the world. That is how you see yourself relating to the world. And, I want to address that because I think there are times in our lives where we feel, because of all the bad and terrible things that are happening, so we begin to feel as if like, we got a target on our backs, right? And I don't believe that we are here to suffer. I really believe that we are here to learn everything that we need to learn so that we can evolve and grow. And our projections and what we believe to be like terrible or bad, those are just our projections. Because what I believe might be wrong or bad is based on my moral lens. And as much as we like to believe that morality is fixed, it's not. It's on a spectrum in a sense, depending on who you are, where you come from, your culture, all of that good stuff. And so when we see that like there's lots of quote unquote bad stuff, and I'll use this language for the sake of this conversation, I'll use dualistic language, but I don't believe things are bad or good. They're just challenges and lessons that we need to learn. I remember a long time ago when I was going through, way before I went through my sort of awakening and got really, started noticing the things in my life and got on that healing path. Oh, I think it's about to ring. I realized like my life, like lots of bad things were happening in my life. And I don't know if you're all familiar with Murphy's Law. All the bad things come in threes. And I really believe that. Because when one bad thing would happen to me, I'd literally wait for the next 2 bad things. And that was the energy that I carried, right? I'd get like a flat tire. And I was like, oh, something else is going to happen. Then an unexpected bill that I had to pay, of course. And then there'll be a third thing to seal the deal. And it happened every few months. It was like this chaotic loop that I felt like I was stuck in. And I realized some of those challenges when I look back, a lot of them were practical things, because there are ways in which that we can prepare ourselves for challenges on a practical level, and also on an emotional and spiritual level, right? If we become more intentional, there are ways that we can prepare ourselves for challenges. We just are, we're emotional creatures, so we get really caught up with the emotions versus taking a moment to start to look at sort of the logical lens through it all. And I bet if I usually when I sit with clients and we start to sort of do a bit of an audit and we try to connect the dots, usually there is something that could have been prevented. The universe sends challenges to us not to derail us. They're usually nudges, right? They're breadcrumbs that we need to pick up. There are nudges telling us, take a look, pay attention to this. And then we ignore it. And I've been there. There are some things right now I'm putting off from dealing with because of, it just being really annoying and aggravating for me to deal with it. But I know if I don't start making some moves towards whatever it is that I need to sort of focus on, the universe going to send something to me and say, Remember when I told you to take care of this? And so it's all about reframing how we see those challenges. What is this trying to show you? What kind of feedback can you get from it? Because what happens is when we get caught up in things, bad things happening to us, it becomes this energetic frequency. So then we're challenged here to declutter that frequency. Because when it becomes phonetic like that, it's almost like a magnet, right? We become magnetized to, and we draw in all of those mishaps, those missteps, those things that we just miss. And then we become so disconnected from the present that we just start forgetting things, and we start doing things that just trip us up over and over again. And so it can be very hard to take a step back and get honest, right? To really begin to self-reflect on our lives. But that's what we really need to do, especially when we feel like we're on that really emotional hamster wheel. If we don't sit back and reflect and we just kind of go with the flow, I always hear people say, I don't know why these things keep happening to me. They're just happening to me over and over again. And what happens is the universe will send you things and situations to reenact what you didn't learn previously. Different characters, same plot, just a little bit of twist. And if we don't catch on as quickly as we need to, then we're going to be in this cycle, this loop, constantly looping. Because I'm sure, and I'm not exempt from this, but there are lessons that we were supposed to learn that we still haven't learned that keep showing up. And so the question is why are these lessons? Why do they keep coming up for me? What is really going on? Am I really being intentional? Am I really paying attention to the things that are around me? Am I really being as present as I could be? And when I think about sort of a lot of people talk, a lot of my clients talk about finances, which I get, I remember I used to be a really terrible road rage. I used to have really terrible road rage. I grew up in Boston, and it's if you don't have road rage, then it's just part of the fabric of, they call us mass holes, right? And there was a point where I had to go to driving school. I went to driving school the first time. I was like, damn, I ain't ever gonna do this again. I went to driving school twice. I was like, okay, Francis, what is going on? It wasn't the officer giving me the tickets. It wasn't me being late for work that got me to go to driving school to get my license together. It was the rage. There was something within me that I had to address on a deeper level that was really getting in the way and getting me back caught up in these loops. So sometimes it could be as simple as like I said, you got a ticket for parking somewhere temporarily because you were just going to run in there for 10 minutes. And then you got a ticket. Then you get mad for getting the ticket. Then you get mad for paying for the ticket. Then you get mad at the traffic person for giving you the ticket. What are we in the rush for? What can we just do? Could you have just parked the car and then walked? So part of this sometimes is slowing down. And that's something that I had to work through. I still have to work through it because I get impulsive sometimes. I get excited about things. But we have to learn to slow down. So when things are happening at us like rapid fire, that means we're moving too fast. We're moving so fast that we're missing what's going on in the present. And so it's not the fact that you're cursed, right? I do believe on a spiritual level, I'm Haitian, and I grew up, my family used to give me spiritual baths all the time. I do believe on a spiritual level, there are generational patterns that get passed down to us, right? And sometimes addressing those generational patterns requires a different level of depth, right? Sometimes talk therapy is not going to do it. This is why we do plant medicines with folks at our retreat, because sometimes you might be carrying something from your lineage that was gifted to you that needs to be taken care of in this lifetime. And so it may feel like a curse. And so part of that is like, well, how do I clear that up on an energetic and spiritual level? Because it just keeps going. Like I feel like every family has a pattern that needs to be addressed. And there's always one person, and I talked about this in my other live, that becomes the black sheep that is willing and courageous enough to address that pattern. Because most people will not want to talk about a thing, or we don't talk about this thing, we'll avoid it, we'll use other maladaptive coping mechanisms to avoid dealing with that pattern. But now I'm noticing a lot of people are really stepping up to say enough is enough. I need to do this not only for me, but also for my lineage. So it's not that you're cursed. I believe that we all come here with a specific blueprint and with specific challenges that we must learn in this lifetime. And it's up to us to become conscious of that. And not everybody will. Not everybody will become conscious of that. And everyone has their different pace of that consciousness. I was talking to a client yesterday, and she was like, one thing she wanted to work on was how irritable she gets with people. She was like, why do people bother me so much? She wanted to address a situation that happened around her family, and she just wanted to know why she was so angry when this person failed to meet her expectations. And this reminds me of Abraham Hicks. Abraham Hicks had said one time that we really want the world around us to bend to make us feel comfortable, to to do what we say, to mirror our values. And that's not the case, right? So how do we essentially interact in a world where people aren't going to do that, right? And we came to the as we were sort of like breaking this down, and what I told her was like, everybody that you meet, I'm probably digressing off the topic, but I'll swing it back around. Everybody that you meet is on a different level of consciousness. And it doesn't have anything to do with better consciousness or worse consciousness. It has everything to do about like a developed or an underdeveloped consciousness. And everybody can develop their consciousness. And when I say consciousness, I mean becoming self-aware of our habits, of our patterns, and actually having the intentions to want to shift them. Because we can be aware, don't mean we don't change nothing, right? Having the desire to actually do something about them. And to me, that's consciousness, right? Understanding there's something there, plus the desire to wanting to change it, plus the commitment to seek those changes. And when you start to understand that people are in different levels of consciousness, and when you start interacting with them, you don't take things personal anymore. You're just like, oh, okay, we're just not in the same world right now. Because I believe everybody's really living in their own world, right? Everybody got their own problems, own things that's going on. And they're not really thinking about you that hard, right? Because most of us are pretty self-centered in a way, right? And that's just a part of the ego development. And so we can see that. I remember there was a time when me and my partner were traveling through South America, and sometimes I could be good with this, and other times I'm just like, Lord. But it's the cultural differences when you travel, obviously. And I remember some guy cutting us in line. My partner looked at me. I was like, Lord. I was like, let me just leave it alone. It's just a cultural thing. It's different. Whatever. I'll let it go. But there was this lens that I grew up with, and there's this lens that I was because I did social work, and so the lens that I was in was social justice. So I fought for social justice. So whenever I see injustices, which my viewpoint on that has totally changed. I'll talk about that in a different live. I always think that's unfair. That's unfair, but that's my lens, and that's my value system. We can't expect other people to have the same value systems as us, especially when there's not an agreed upon conversation. So those strangers that we're interacting with, we have to understand that they have different value systems. They were taught different things, and that it's not necessarily that we're going to match their consciousness. And everyone's on a different spectrum, a different pace, right? Because if you think about it, when we look at a baby that's crawling, learning how to walk, we don't say, hurry up. We know that's what the baby can do at this time, based on the baby's developmental stage. And we see that it's still learning, it's still strengthening their walk. And that's how I really see people. Certain people are still sort of learning, still developing, still learning how to catch their stride. And when we see people through that lens, we are able to have a bit of self-compassion. And so when we're on this healing path, I'm going to swing it back to Am I Cursed? And so when we're on this healing path and we start to think, am I cursed? I believe that's very much a spiritual question. Because when we're brought into this world, we're brought into this world very pure. Like babies are incredibly pure. And along the way, they encounter some mishaps, some, difficult parenting, difficult childhood, and adult experiences that sort of taint that pureness and that innocence. And I believe that we are a reflection of the Creator. So being a reflection of the Creator, there's no way the Creator would say, I'm going to curse you so that you can suffer for the rest of your life. In my mind, the Creator is saying, I believe so much in you that I'm going to make sure that you're well equipped to handle every challenge that you face, because those sets of challenges are unique to you, to your personal, emotional, and spiritual development, so that you can tap into the expansiveness that is you. And so my encouragement here is to begin to reframe those challenges and almost welcome them in a way, because it's like, who am I going to become after those challenges? Like, what happens on that other side? Because now I have a point of reference from the old version of me that was struggling with a particular thing to the new version of me that actually went through and stuck through those challenges and came out on the other side. So we're not cursed. These are all merely just lessons that we need to learn. Embrace them. Because when we don't embrace them and we resist embracing them, they prevent our breakthroughs, right? And we need those breakthroughs so that we can shed, right? Well, it's all about shedding. Because it's almost like if you think about, like, you have your clothes on one day and then you go to sleep, same clothes. And you wake up the next day and you put another pair of clothes on top of the same clothes from yesterday. And you keep doing that. Imagine doing that for year after year after year. And that's sort of like our spiritual healing journey. That's how the journey is. We want to not continue to put layers upon old layers that just pretty much encrust us and stunt our growth. We want to shed. So whenever I see a challenge now, and I've been dealing with a challenge this week that I'm going to sit with this weekend, and I found myself like, oh man, I don't want this challenge. But I'm realizing that it's another opportunity for me to step up for myself, right? Because depending on the desires and the things that you want to create in your life, it's going to require a different version of you. A coach once said to me, whatever got you here will not take you where you want to be. It's just not going to do it. So be open, be curious, and ask, what's going on here? Let me check in. And sometimes it's hard to do it with a smile, but know that everything that is planted in front of you is beautifully orchestrated for you. And I look forward to seeing who you become on the other side of those challenges. All right. That is all I got for today. See you mañana. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow will be day 7. Take care, guys.